Hey guys, this is what if the Ninja Turtles Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were in Young Justice Part 1 rebooted. Now I have done what if similar to this in the past, didn't really do well, but I just want to do it again as a reboot to make it better and put the story together a lot more fluently, like I did for my what if I posted earlier today, what if Deku had the Omnitrix rebooted. So this is what if the TMNT were in Young Justice reboot. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I also did a what if Ninja Turtles were in My Hero Academia. You can check that out. I probably won't leave a link down to that video, but just search it up with my YouTube name behind it. You'll probably find it. But yeah, let's just dive right into this fan fiction. Now, basically, the start of the story, we're going to be going into depth of how the Ninja Turtles would exist in this DC universe, or exist in the DC universe as in the Young Justice world. As we start the story off in season 1, since that's the most base season and probably my favorite season of Young Justice. So let's dive right into it. Now, the Ninja Turtles would exist the same way it would have came to be by this universe's version of the Ooze. The Ooze being made by LexCorp, and it being comprised of kryptonite type things, basically trying to turn kryptonite into a power fuel to basically give, biodegradable energy. Basically make energy that doesn't take away from any other sources of light other than, kryptonite and solar energy into kryptonite, giving it a type of power boosting energy. Being able to fuel power sources that were specifically made to convert this new ooze to energy, but this program or project was shortly shut down by Lex and was basically put into more of a serum for Lex to give him a type of boost if he was ever able to fight against Superman in his suit, because we have seen Lex in the comics take some sort of drug to give him an extra boost of strength on top of his battle suit he fights Superman with. So things like that. So, to it's simple, this ooze also had a component kryptonite in LexCorp DNA, money and also technology, but also a little bit of alien and other things like the Hive and other things like that in this ooze. The ooze having a lot of correlation and links to other pretty much, places, even such as Katniss. So the pure origin behind the ooze is going to be, explained even thoroughly in the later season of this what if, or maybe near the ending finale of this what if. So to put it simple, the secret of the ooze will be like really big in this, version of the Ninja Turtles, and will be connected with a lot of characters in the DC universe. Now, for Ninja Turtles themselves, since this program was shut down, for LexCorp at least, all the mutagen was being shipped down to be exterminated or dealt with, as one of the containers sort of fell out, hitting a kid with a box of turtles, and those box of turtles falling down the sewer, and the ooze also falling down there with them, as the ooze would have cracked on top of them alongside pretty much, a rat, and this rat being more or less a modified version of a human. Now, this rat would have been a kung fu master. Him being, put it simple in all layman terms, being I guess you would say, a Japanese rat. But basically, this rat was the pet of a very high-class Japanese master in Star City. Basically, this pretty much ninjutsu master or karate master being on par with Batman, and even being as a vigilante at one point in Gotham City, and also being there and helping Batman in his crusade. Basically, this master martial arts artist being a certain Batman villain, and this being its pet rat, as its pet rat would have been pretty much exposed to the mutagen, and over the years, this mutagen transforming them into giant mutated turtles, as we'll get introduced over the years to our favorite four Ninja Turtles: Michelangelo, Donatello, Leonardo, and Raphael. My favorite. Raphael and Michelangelo are my favorite. And Leo is probably my favorite by default, but excluding Leonardo, it's probably going to be Mikey and Raphael. So yeah. So we start our story off, or continue our story off after the whole explanation of how Ninja Turtles will come to be in this world. As a time gap happens, as the Ninja Turtles grow up and they start to give a name to themselves in Star City and even places like Gotham, as they eventually make their stay in Gotham City, as Gotham City is more or less the crime being ran down there even fast, and even some of them going down to Bloodhaven, as different bases would have been made around Gotham City sewers and Bloodhaven, as they would have moved the Bloodhaven sewers into a lot more safer because they would keep on running into creatures like Killer Croc and other beings like, pretty much, let's just say Clayface. Well, Clayface basically running into characters like those, as they would eventually go to Bloodhaven and basically making crime go down there very fast, as this would be before Nightwing. So Bloodhaven didn't really have a big hero or protector, but it had the Ninja Turtles in this universe, as the Turtles would have made a name for themselves in Batman trying to investigate and, pretty much look into it. And this would happen about a year prior to pretty much the Independence Day, aka the first episode of season 1 of Young Justice. As you would see that pretty much, Batman would have gone down here to the city alongside Robin, as they would have looked around, as eventually they would have found a crime being stopped with Ninja Turtles, as we would get shown the Ninja Turtles' personalities, as Mike would have thrown a nunchuck towards the thug that was trying to run away, saying, "You can't get away that fast, buddy," as he would have started to run after him and doing a kick backflip or kick spin backflip on the dude, knocking him into nowhere. I mean, like, literally his soul left his body, like he went to the gulag. I mean, he hit him hard. As the Ninja Turtles would have been near the same type of strength, speed, and agility as the comic book Ninja Turtles, plus a little bit extra since they are mutated turtles. So basically they have those superhuman strength and, durability and stuff like that. So they're about the same level of speed, agility, strength, and reflexes as the Ninja Turtles in the comics. So yeah. And also the Ninja Turtles in the fan art that's in, the thumbnail. So we see the Ninja Turtles are all introduced. Raphael is shown to be the more brass, more angry part of the Turtles. Leonardo's more the fearless leader, giving off Batman or more or less Robin type or Nightwing type vibes, basically being the leader of the team. And also Mikey being the jokester / slacker of the team, and Donnie being the techno, being more or less the Tim Drake of the team. As eventually they would have all took down the crime, as they would have been the Foot, as the Foot would have been pretty much, correlating with, pretty much the Foot Clan, not the Foot Clan, but basically Ra's al Ghul's clan, as the League of Shadows would have been a main branch, and the branch off would have been the Foot being a branch off from the League of Shadows, and also the League of Shadows being led side by side with Ra's al Ghul's brother in this canon, as Ra's al Ghul would have had a twin brother in this story, changing the course of the story a little bit, and also giving a character like, Shredder a, bigger and more in-depth story in this universe. Now, if you put two together, Shredder is Ra's al Ghul in the story's brother, or twin brother, as they would have been identical twins, but they would have been born on the same day from the same mother. So yeah, as they would have both been immortal, as they would have both used the Lazarus Pit over the years, and Ra's al Ghul having a brother to share this secret with, and him not being as cold-hearted, but him also breaking this trust between their brotherhood. And basically, put it simple, their brotherhood isn't really strong at all, more or less them being more of enemies now, but we're going to get into that a lot later in the whole entire story. And the Ra's al Ghul, Lake of Shadows and everything like that are going to be a big part of this series. Now, you see that Ninja Turtles are fighting crime, as eventually they are stopped by Batman, as Batman tries to question them and looks around, as they basically are all, pretty much checked out by Batman, as Batman looks at all their skills, their techniques, and saying that they use a very ancient arts of Japanese and Japanese culture of minor and basic Japanese or Chinese defense, karate, ninjutsu, stuff like that, but also going into more ancient arts that are even Batman has never seen before. Ancient arts Ra's al Ghul uses on a day-to-day basis that Batman has never seen a day in his life. And as a bit of simple, Batman is impressed by their skill, but they are both all rookies and they haven't learned the full extent of what they can learn. As they try to fight Batman, as eventually they are taken down pretty quickly since they are kind of still rookies and they are, near the 15, 14 years old. As Leo gets up from the crowd, as he's the most skilled of the four, as he takes on Batman, as the fight actually lasts pretty long, as Batman's impressed at how skilled and how pretty much precise and how focused Leo is. As Leo starts to swing and slash, eventually Batman dodges and throws a mean gut punch in pretty much Leo's chest. As Leo falls onto the ground, as Mikey yells out and chucks a nunchuck towards Batman. As Robin steps in, grabbing the nunchuck in midair and chucking it back at Donnie. As Donnie dodges out the way as it hits Mikey upside the forehead. As Mikey is right behind Donnie, pretty simple. So Donnie takes out his bow staff and goes into a fight against, Robin. As they have a bow staff for basically fights, eventually they break each other's bow staffs in two as they start to use them as batons. As pretty much his skills, Donnie's skills are a lot more advanced. So he basically knows how to use batons, bow staves, and spears, stuff like that. So basically they start to hit each other and blah blah blah, and eventually the fight ends with a draw of them both hitting each other straight in the chest with a finishing blow, knocking the wind out of each other's windpipes. As we see that Mikey and pretty much Leo would have started to double tag or pretty much overpower Batman. Batman would have gotten sick of this and would have gone full on beast mode and straight up just knocked both of them out with a clean right hook, basically knocking both of them out in one punch as they would be right next to each other. So a bit of simple, Batman was playing with them a bit of simple. Because we being for real, the furry verse, the year one Ninja Turtles, they would have easily gotten bodied by a character like Batman. Now, let's say the older Ninja Turtles and stuff like that, maybe they would have had a chance against Batman, if they were all at their prime, but they're not at their prime. They're just right about there because they're still very young and unexperienced, as they hadn't gone against their main villains just yet. As they have gone against people like Leatherhead being Killer Croc, as they would have fought more or less Batman's villains more than anything, as they would have fought characters like Deadshot and characters like Killer Croc and also Clayface, and even characters such as Mr. Freeze, and also then find some of their original Rose Gallery like Fly Guy, or people like Bebop and Rocksteady, as they exist in this world and also have crossed paths with Batman and Robin. So they are pretty much kind of a staple in Batman's Rose Gallery in this universe. Now, we see the Ninja Turtles are talking to Batman, as Batman gives them an offer to basically, train under him. As a year goes by, as the Ninja Turtles still, work in Bloodhaven, as they also are about 15 to 16 years old now, as they basically, trained with Batman and Robin, as Robin and the Ninja Turtles actually have a pretty good connection with each other, alongside Robin being friends with Speedy. Basically, Speedy also knowing the Ninja Turtles and becoming really best friends, really good friends with Mikey of all people, because he does connect with Mikey a lot more. As Raph would have kind of, disconnected, but also would have found a connection with Batman. Him feeling his pain, or more or less him trying to be a Batman ripoff. As sometimes he even tries to mimic his voice, as Robin tells him that's just a stupid idea and just be yourself. Now, we switch, to current day, as we see that Batman and Robin would have taken down Mr. Freeze in Central City. As we would see that, Green Arrow and Speedy would have taken down, Icicle at pretty much, I think, Brooklyn Bridge. As we would see that Aqualad and Aquaman would have fought Icicle. As we would see the rest of the team, also Kid Flash and Flash, fighting, pretty much Captain Cold or Captain Freeze. I don't remember his name. I think it's Captain Cold. As they would have Captain Freeze? Mr. Freeze? No, Captain Freeze. I don't really remember his name. He's not really a big villain when it comes to me. I don't really like him that much. More or less, Mr. Freeze and Icicle are more of my favorite ice villains. Now, we see that, well, Washington, D.C., in the Hall of Justice, as they all go there. As we see the Ninja Turtles also arrive there as well alongside Batman. Them being a part of this new program, not a new program, the program hasn't started, but them being introduced to pretty much the Hall of Justice, giving a little bit of, I guess, tourist clearance as they are all introduced. As everybody recognizes the Ninja Turtles as they become a little bit more of a bigger team in Bloodhaven and also Gotham City, them being on par with Batman and Robin. As pretty much some people will be disgusted by their sight, but most people would have been kind of, cool, and some even weird girls, nerdy girls, would have said that they kind of look hot, as Mikey would have gotten a little bit flattered. As we would have seen that, Raphael would have just scoffed off, and pretty much the crowd, Green Arrow, Aqualad, Batman, basically being a lot more of a bigger crowd alongside, the four Turtles. So this whole group being a lot more bigger, more bigger than canon or original show. As we would have seen that they would have had the same type of gamble or talk to each other, as eventually they would have been, crossed paths with Martian Manhunter and Red Tornado. As Martian Manhunter would have felt something familiar in the Ninja Turtles' bloodstreams, as he would have thrown that away or thrown that idea out of his mind as fast as possible, as he would have just continued walking off. As we would see, the Ninja Turtles would have sat down, and Mikey would have been perched on a chair, as pretty much the Justice League, or pretty much Aquaman, Green Arrow, I forgot who else was there. Martian Manhunter, Red Tornado, Batman, characters like that, and also Flash would have continued pretty much their talk in another room, as Speedy would have gone and did, lashed out, saying that they even tell you about the Watchtower, and that we are given, pretty much not terrorists, but tourists, pretty much, well, put it simple, access, as they haven't even been all the way real with us. As Speedy leaves and quits, as he ditches the place, as Mikey tries to calm him down, and Speedy tells Mikey to back off, and that I know you're my friend, but you can't stop me from leaving. As he pushes Mikey away, as Raph tells Speedy not to go, as Speedy tells Raph to get off and get away from me, as Speedy quits and leaves, as he's done with being Green Arrow's sidekick. As we get switched to, a couple minutes later, as the Justice League would have ran off, doing their whole, thing, talking about Katniss, as Robin would have hacked into the computer alongside Donnie, as Donnie and Robin would have found out pretty much Katniss' location, as they, or the team, would have been inspired to go, deal with it themselves, going to stop a Katniss fire. Now, we see Aqualad and also Raph would have taken down, as Aqualad would use his water manipulation to stop the fire, as we would have seen that Donnie would use a grappling gun to pretty much get or save Kid Flash, as Robin would have gotten in the way, basically also saving Donnie, as Mikey was on the cliff of the roof, since he was pretty much piggyback riding on top of Kid Flash, to put it simple. So we will see that Aqualad saved the scientists and stopped the fire alongside the Ninja Turtles' help, as the rest of the Turtles would have just straight up snuck inside Ninja Turtle style. As we see that Aqualad would have walked out and basically would have seen some sort of alien in the hallway in the elevator, as he would have tried to investigate, as Raph would have passed by everybody being a lot more brass, as he would have kicked the door down, basically showing an elevator shaft, as Robin would have pretty much looked at the place, saying that it was 11 floors, and it makes no sense because this is only a 2-3 story building, as pretty much they look down, as it's a very, I'm putting a lot of emphasis, a long ass, just pretty much gaping, hole or way down through these elevator shafts, as eventually they get to, as long as Robin can go with his grappling gun, as all 7 of them get into pretty much well, floor 20 something, I don't know. As they look around, as they see tubes and other things like that, as Kid Flash goes running off full force, as he eventually gets stopped by some sort of xenomorph type creatures or alien-like creatures, as he gets out of the way as fast as possible, as Donnie looks around as he's confused and also baffled by what's going on. As he kind of looks closer and he sees that they kind of have a resemblance with some of the villains they fought in the past. As Robin says, "You mean Bebop and Rocksteady?" As Donnie says, "I don't really know." As Leo tells them that, "I don't think that one up there likes us," as he does realize one of them has their, horns glow red, like a warning or something. Now we switch back to Katniss type, the inner workings of Katniss, as we see a doctor or scientist working on something. As that story, or pretty much part of the story, goes exactly the same. They figure out that they have some sort of intruders, or they may have some sort of intruders, and stuff like that. As the Guardian is told to deal with it, as basically, we can switch to the rest of the team, basically snooping around, as they would eventually find some sort of bioelectricity creatures or aliens powering the whole thing, basically giving us the information that this whole thing, the Katniss base, is off the grid. As Donnie would have figured this out instead of Robin, as Donnie would have had a type of same mount wrist, tech or pretty much hacking system that Robin has, as he would have had it more or less in his bow staff instead of his wrist or glove, as it would have been his handle and his bow staff, the middle of his bow staff, making his bow staff a lot more stronger since it would have had middle components and steel inside of it. Basically, we've seen that, pretty much Kid Flash, Aqualad, and pretty much Mikey, Leo, and Raphael would have all gotten into a fighting stance, seeing the Red Guardian say, "Oh, I know you guys," and him being pretty much controlled by the xenomorph, basically being convinced to attack them and ask questions later, as they would have started to attack these aliens or creatures, as basically they would have started to get bodied because they would have been outnumbered, as Ninja Turtles would have bodied majority of them alongside the help of from Kid Flash, Aqualad, and Robin, as Robin and Guardian would have started to duke it out alongside Aqualad jumping into the fight, and Guardian fighting back and eventually getting knocked out cold by a swift, clean hit on the flat side of Leo's katana, as they would have ditched out of the way, trying to get out of the way, as they would have ran, as eventually Leo would have told them, "We gotta get out of here now," as Mikey would have basically tried to kick the door down, but being stopped by Leo, as Leo would have told Donnie to do his thing, as Donnie would have said, "I can't do it," since his bow got messed up in the fight, or staff got messed up in the fight, as pretty much Robin says, "I would do it," as he opens the elevator last minute, as they all jump in through the elevator door. As they start to get confused on what's going on about these xenomorphs, these aliens, and everything else going on, as pretty much Donnie and everybody else, and also Raphael and everybody else, all the Ninja Turtles and the team, basically run off in the lower region, as they eventually find some sort of telepathic xenomorph, as he shoots canisters toward them, as Robin tries to sortie him with the Batarang, but he stops the Batarang mid-air with his telekinesis, as they're cornered into a room pretty much labeled as KR, Project KR, as pretty much Kid Flash uses a canister to pretty much pin the door open, stopping the door from closing any farther, as all 7 of them jump in through the gate, as Aqualad's the last one to get in, as he kicks the canister out, closing the door, and Robin locking it remotely, as they would have looked around, as Kid Flash would have pressed the button, opening the light to a canister or test tube showing a boy with some sort of Kryptonian logo on his chest, Superman's logo, as it would have been Superboy, a clone of Superman, as we would have seen that he would have started to look at the DNA, everything about it, the project and everything, and also Robin hacking in and getting through the password, as it would have been a project, as they all 7 of them would have figured out that this was a project, a clone of Superman, as Donnie would have said it's not too far-fetched for Katniss to do something like this. I've heard rumors that Katniss does alien technology and other things like that, but I never thought they were actually real before I got here. as he would start mumbling to himself like Deku in, the anime, as he would start to mumble to himself, as pretty much, Kid Flash would have snapped him out of it, saying that what are we going to do? And should we let him out? Should we keep him in? And basically, we see that this whole debate actually goes on a little bit longer since there's more people. As Raph says we should keep him in there as we don't know what danger he has, as Leo also agrees as well. But Donnie and Mikey say that they should let him out, alongside Kid Flash saying that as well, and also Robin saying they should let him out, and that he is, somewhat human. He is not human, but he's more or less, he's a living creature. He should be let out. He should be, saved. He's a experiment, Raph says. He's an experiment. He doesn't have a soul. He's a test tube. He's born from a test tube. Look at him. He's not even real. As pretty much Raph says, Leo says, I don't agree with that, but we don't know how much danger and how dangerous he can be. We don't know how much power he has. If he's a clone of Superman, he could obliterate us with a look. As basically Donnie says, not exactly. I've done countermeasures to characters like Batman, and also been taught by characters like Superman, and also been taught by Batman about how, to deal with characters like Kryptonians, or people like Kryptonians. As Mikey said, oh yeah, he did give some Kryptonian or kryptonite weapons. He didn't give us, he gave me. As Donnie basically pretty much looks dead at Leo, as Leo is told that he has kryptonite weapons on him at all times, as he was taught by pretty much, Batman to keep strapped on some kryptonite, because you never know, Superman's gonna go rogue or something. Or you never know if you're gonna run into a kryptonite, or a Kryptonian, a Kryptonian. As they decide to let him out, as the Xenomorphs slowly on the other side signal him to take them down, as pretty much, Connor jumps out of the tube as he tries to fight everybody, as he punches everybody, he kicks them off, as eventually he's weakened by Donnie, as Donnie did cut himself earlier, and since I said LexCorp, and it was also, and their mutagen was made out of blood, not made out of blood, but was made out of some sort of form of kryptonite, as their blood is can weaken Kryptonians. As Connor basically tries to get away from Donnie, as he hits him with a laser beam, shooting Donnie into a nearby wall, stopping him and getting him far enough so he's back at full strength. As Connor starts to box everybody else and rinses the absolute dog water out of Donnie, knocking him out cold, basically only a couple left, as Kid Flash is knocked out cold with one swing or one clean hit to the chest by I think a molly-whopping type kick, or straight to the chest, as pretty much Connor bodies Robin as well, and basically starts to fight Leo, Raphael, and Aqualad, as they all start to fight each other, as eventually Leo is the last one standing after Aqualad is knocked out clean by Connor, as Aqualad is pretty much, his body's defiled, not defiled, but his weapons are taken off of him, as Donnie's Mikey, Raphael, what the freak, bro? Oh my god, bro. Leo is able to, work his weapons, as they're kind of, somewhat still working for some apparent reason, as he uses them to fight against, Superboy, as Superboy starts to fight him closer and closer, and eventually starts to overpower him, as eventually Raph goes out and gets up out of nowhere, chucking one of his sides straight at the back of Connor, as Connor is, pretty much distracted for a quick second, as Leo throws with his whole soul, his whole body, every last bit of his energy is thrown into one Pacific punch straight to Connor's cojones, as Connor is knocked to the ground fast. He falls to the ground faster than gravity can even pull him down. He hits the ground hard, as Connor lashes out, shooting laser beams towards pretty much Raph, as Raph turns his back as he gets hit against the wall, using his shield or using his shell as a shield, as Ninja Turtles' shell is actually very much more powerful than it is in the comics. They've been able to take laser beams from Kryptonians and also things like, a nuclear bomb, but I'm pretty sure they can barely survive a nuclear bomb, because if they even go into their shell, it still does holes with their arms and head and legs come out, so they would just get cooked inside their shell. Basically, their shell itself is strong enough to take a nuclear bomb, but it is nowhere near as strong in the chest part of it. So basically, the main part of it, like the chest piece, like where the yellow part of their shell is like, pretty much strong enough to take a few hittings, but like straight up a gunshot is kind of more like a Kevlar vest when it comes to the chest. But their shell entirely on the backside is like almost impenetrable, unless it's hit with like a full-on, like very focused attack by characters like Darkseid or Superman. So yeah. But yeah, they all get knocked out. Katniss comes in through the door as Connor opens the door. As we see that pretty much Connor does get up from getting kicked in the cojones. As he gets back up, and basically he gets back up after he's, his laser vision goes off, as he basically grabs Leo and pretty much breaks his arm, as Leo is knocked out cold with a clean karate chop upside the forehead. As Katniss comes into the room, as they all put them up in canisters, or not canisters, but more or less test tubes, as they try to extract their DNA to make clones of them to give them back to the Justice League, so none of them know what's going on in Katniss. As I'm gonna leave it off here, guys. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys like and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed. Really, I hope you guys really enjoyed this reboot. And yeah, have a blessed day. Deuces.